Mr. Chika, good morning to you. How are you today?
Happy morning. How are you today?
Well, I guess we can all be better, right? In light of what we've seen here, we've seen the lamentations on the streets. What do we make of this pump price hitting 1,030 naira in Abuja?
Okay.
And then, of course, Lagos.
Now, there are two aspects to this story. And then this just for our viewers. And the first aspect has to do with the price of PMS. And the second issue has to do with, this price of PMS, the impact on the society, and whether the government can do anything to ameliorate that. For our viewers again, petrol, which is the common one, used to be imported or is imported. Now, when you import it from Europe or from Asia or from Middle East, the landed cost is the price of that petrol from the refinery abroad, the shipping cost, clearing cost, and then the cost at the filling station, and that's what they sell it. And if that cost is 1,000, for example, if that cost is 1,100 naira, and the government is making you buy it at 800 naira, that means the government is subsidizing 300 naira. That is real calculation. Okay? 300 naira per liter, which means you're not buying the fuel at the market rate. Now, also, I thought about if we're going to produce the fuel locally. I said the price at the refinery, whether it's Dangote refinery or the modern refinery, is the price of the crude that enters the refinery, plus the processing cost, plus the profit margin of the refinery gives you the final price of the petrol. And that's what it is. If it is 1,100 also, and government says buy it at 800, government subsidies it by 300. Now, the issue, as I said more than 3 years ago, is that the government is our nation is a broke nation, and we cannot continue to subsidize petrol. We can't continue to subsidize petrol. If the price of petrol is 1,100, and we're selling to citizens at 800, it means government, from other revenue sources, from denying the nation of other things, is taking 300 naira per liter and letting citizens to enjoy cheap fuel. So, and the enjoyment of cheap fuel has led to all the scarcity and all. I thought about that in this program. So the nation has to take a decision whether we're going to subsidize fuel to make it cheap. And that's what a lot of citizens are clamoring. But the government are come to say, see, we cannot continue to subsidize fuel. Let the fuel be at market price. And if we put it at market price, that is what they're approximating now. In which case it becomes a business, NNPC steps aside, anybody can go and import fuel or buy fuel from Dangote filling station and sell it the way you want. And hopefully, subsequently, prices will moderate. When good Lord Jonathan did this, at the time, prices started moderating, even below the price that was the regulated price. Filling stations started adding on other services to their work. But the point I'm making is that the calculation is right. If the price is 1,100 landed price, and when government is selling at 800, the 300 is subsidized fuel. Government has to make a decision whether we can continue to carry it. And this government is broke. And the government is saw when we did the debt situation story in this country, we're even borrowing to pay back borrowings. So that's the issue. The nation has made that decision and say, we will continue to enjoy cheap fuel. Cheap fuel means you're subsidizing it. Subsidy means you're borrowing to, pay for the petrol, and so on and so forth. That's the decision.
Right. I mean, like you highlighted, it's a double-edged sword because on the one hand, it pretty much aligns with the current practices of fully deregulated products, willing buyer, willing seller. But then you also have, on the other hand, the consumer, which at the end of the day really is the crux of the matter. If the consumer is feeling the pinch.
That's why I said that aspect of the story has to do with what can the government do to help.
To ameliorate and alleviate.
In Lagos State, for example, transportation is a major issue, a major cost. And I keep praising Lagos State government for this. Their blue line is running. Those who are coming from First Stack and all that exit towards island here, Marina, they know the impact of the blue line. If the red line comes also now from Abado to Oyimbo, it will also help in reducing that. So transportation is a major cost for citizens. So let the government help in that area, to assist citizens. And let other states also do things like that. So that's what I said, that issue is one, the market price of petrol. Let's let it go. Two, the impact of that in the country. What do we do about it?
Oh, absolutely.
No, those are the two issues.
It takes a clear understanding of the mechanics of getting to that process. Well, let's move on to the federal government officially designating a Dangote refinery as an exclusive supplier of Jet A1.
I just like Abby, like we don't run stories here just anyhow. And that story was attributed to the Minister for Aviation. And before we run stories like that, we'll try to get to the root. And he has come to amend that story. That was not what he communicated.
Okay.
That indeed, the airline there's an association called Airline Operators of Nigeria, AON. Those the group for the Nigerian airlines. Now, if you recall, at the initial part, when Dangote started producing aviation fuel, there were issues whether, is it the right quality? Will he bring down our planes and stuff like that? There were things like that, competition will list things, and so some of the airline operators stayed away from it. But the issue is that they have airline operators have subsequently met Dangote Group with all the team of airline operators, with the Dangote Group, with people from government, and they have confirmed that is okay, and then they will patronize that Dangote fuel. So it's not a government arbitrarily saying the government cannot do that.
This is not a unilateral decision. It was collectively made.
The government will not come and say you must buy from Dangote. It's not that. It's the airline operators initially, with some hesitancy from beginning, have come out to say we endorse Dangote aviation fuel, and they're going to patronize it. And of course, the government always trying to support. That's how it happened. The government cannot force airline operators to go and designate, you must buy from that. That's not the way it works.
Well, surely this is good for the refinery.
It's good for the refinery, the guaranteed market, and even for the locals, for the local airlines, because you do recall that at the time, the price of aviation fuel got so high, and the airline operators in Nigeria wanted even to start importing their own, asking for license to import their own aviation fuel into Nigeria, but of course, the issue was foreign exchange and stuff like that. So when we start having this Naira to Naira crude to Naira end products, it makes things a little easier for Nigerians.
Well, absolutely.
As far as it ties into what Alhaji Aliko Dangote said, which is the NNPC should stop mortgaging our crude oil so that we crude oil to go to the refineries for processing. Because what use is the refinery if it doesn't have crude to process? And the headstone of the Naira crude for Naira end product agreement is that the availability of crude. So that must happen. If that's crude in Nigeria, price in Naira, things will happen better for us. Petrol and aviation fuel and even diesel.
All right, so the end justifies the means. It's a win-win for everyone here. Still on the federal government, let's look at them setting up a task force to fast-track PPPs in the aviation sector.
Yeah, because you see, each year we'll come out here and say the government budget, and this year it's about 127 trillion, pittance. Pittance. If you translate that into dollar with this currency, it's even more pittance. And then there's a seasonality to that. So after that, maybe 1/3 of that is capital projects. With the number of rules to be done and whatever, how much can the government do? So that's why it's always important for the government to develop the infrastructure required. In some report, I've said that Nigeria requires about $30 trillion over a 10-year period thereabout to close the infrastructure deficit that we have in the country. So where would they get the money? So the best way has to do with the PPP arrangement, public-private sector initiative, where the public sector and private sector, emerge to execute these projects. And airport infrastructure happens to be one area given to that qualifies for these investments. And that's why government must make sure that they provide the enabling environment for this to happen. Principally, number one, sanctity of contracts. Sanctity of contracts. So that when it's signed, because for the private sector people who go and borrow money to do this project, it's a long-term borrowing usually. And so that will right through 2 or 3 government administrations. So if you borrow the money in one government cycle, and the next government comes and changes the rule of the game, what will happen to your borrowing? It becomes a problem.
That's a very important
that's
question.
the major issue. So one of the critical factors of this PPP arrangement happens to be the fact that government policies are predictable, tax policies are predictable, and then the rules don't change overnight when governments come in. because of the issue of the sanctity of contracts.
Yeah, and of course, it's a good thing you're talking about this, because when it comes to PPPs in the aviation sector, we know what has happened in recent years, issues that have led to litigation as we speak. So it's very important that these topics your points you mentioned, sanctity of contracts, and a lot more, I'm very sure, would be very necessary to make sure that this is a very smooth process. We have a bit more time. Let's look at Nigeria's capital importation declining by 22%.
Okay, it was the decline of 22% is actually quarter on quarter. Quarter on quarter. So let's proceed that. So quarter one to quarter two. Quarter one was higher than quarter two. In quarter two it fell. Quarter two happens to be April, May, June. Quarter one is January, February, March. So it fell. But compared to 2023, it was much higher, more than 100% higher. Now, but you see, the story is in the details, really. The details. Now, capital importation for our viewers, of course, represents investment from people outside Nigeria that they bring into our Nigerian economy for various reasons. The reasons are normally into three core reasons, three core segments. The first one is the FPI, the foreign portfolio investors. The foreign portfolio investors are those who come in, on a short-term basis. Their major drive is to see how they can maximize their returns. So it happens that the interest rates now on the current short basis in America, let's say it's 2 or 3%. And they find that Nigerian interest rate is 20%. So they take the capital from that, they're looking, chasing higher returns, they leave the American market and bring it into the Nigerian market. Our stock market, which has been having good returns, our bonds, treasury bills and bonds, which are in this double single digits, and then so that they can invest. That's why you can see there that the foreign portfolio investors was the highest segment of the report.
The chunk, yeah.
Yeah, the chunk. The chunk of the investment came from foreign portfolio investors. Those are they're important, but that when they fly by night, they easily fly to safety. For example, I'll give you an example. Because of the reduction in inflation in the US now, interest rates have come down, which means now the returns in the US are low. And so investors in the US will be looking at their returns and say, oh, this is very low now. Where can we get in the world the higher returns? And so they start moving their money to the Nigerian market. And so what can they put in the Nigerian market? Stock market, treasury bills, bonds, and so on and so forth. And then because of higher returns. The issue in the past has been they bring that investment in dollars, convert it to Naira and make investment in Naira. On maturity, and when they take it back, can we give them the dollar back to send back? And that was the problem in the past when we had accumulated FX that we couldn't take back. And that was why it was very important for Central Bank to clear that $7 million, which they did successfully. So that's the first group. So a certain portion of this report you mentioned now is the foreign portfolio investors, that short-term people. The ones that we really want, which is the foreign direct investment, FDIs, happens to be very paltry.
It certainly does.
About $29 million.
Absolutely. We have to get into that another day because that's a very, very important aspect of this whole report. All right, Business Analyst Chika Mbonu, I want to thank you.